how come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before. Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Biz in Flow bedside chat. I'm Natasha Q.
And I'm Jachym.
And I'm feeling much better today.
Tell us all about your learnings and insights and realizations.
Stop it, Jachym.
Yeah.
Where do I start when you ask me like that?
Well, at the beginning.
Of?
Wherever you want to start.
You're so not helpful.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, yeah, I ended the podcast yesterday I was already on a low note, but I was really sad. It brought up a lot of sadness just to revisit. And there's a great deal of discomfort in expressing all over again how I wasn't 100% happy with the workshop and just seemed like I wasn't able to find my way. That's what it felt like. So when I woke up again this morning, it was one of those things where, sometimes you go to bed and something's on your mind and the next day it kind of dissolves. Definitely did not dissolve for me this morning. And we spent some time to look into it. And one of the things, and of course, because of the nature of our work, we really do support one another when we want the help.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we ask one another to support us, it's almost as if we coach one another through it, but we're just holding the space. We're just really there for that person, and we're there to support them. We're there to help them through it. And Jachym just kept going into this theme, or the direction of how I don't need to stay a victim anymore. And that I have the power to change, I have the power, and that I don't need to stay small. So that was what he kept repeating. And I mean, it's quite simple what he said. It's easy to understand, but it actually began to connect for me.
What do you mean by that?
All the moments in my life where I do choose to play it small and to take the easy way out, or just to say I'm helpless. I'm helpless. That's it. I'm the one suffering the situation, and whether it's someone else's fault or I am also to blame, I just keep blaming and I stay there. And really, this is not to say that I'm like a person who complains all the time and don't take responsibility, or that I blame people as the first resort to any conflict that arises in my life. Like, that's not how I lived even before today. But there are certain things or certain people who I do blame more than others, right? And then also for you, whenever I feel like things aren't going well, or I feel like I've done it all, and that's really important to emphasize, I feel like I've done everything I can, then I just blame you. Like, that's what I usually do, like whether it's at home or it's for work, or this is even more funny, when I don't want to change, when I don't want to do something extra or change how I do things, I'll blame you too. Or I'll just blame the situation and say, oh, it's just not going well, and then I'll just not give any effort to actually change anything. But anyways, those are certain things that I have done in the past, and which I will probably do too in the future. I don't think I will completely delete throwing responsibilities at someone else, or just kind of going back in the passenger seat from time to time, things like that. I'm sure it'll happen again, but it was really significant because I saw how it was such a strong pattern in my life. And a part of the workshop was that I was also just not showing up completely. Afterwards, in reflection, yes, I blamed you for it not going as well as I thought it could, But I also blame myself, saying, oh, I'm just not there yet. Oh, I'm not clear enough. I'm not as good as you in framing things. It just seems like there was just a lot of reasons for why it didn't go well, but I don't think I wanted to, nor did I see how I could turn everything around. So once I saw that, I actually felt a lot more free. First, of course, a lot of sadness too. A lot of sadness because I felt this realization or this insight so deeply that I felt like a part of me was dying. And I've had this feeling before, where, you know, you hold on to this pattern or the ego way of doing things, and it gets very comfortable and it becomes you even. And then you finally see through it, you realize it's not you, you can do something else completely starting now, there's nothing holding you back, and that you actually don't want to keep on repeating the same things. Stay small, blame other people, just throw your responsibilities into the air and go like, okay, someone else catch it, right? The moment at least I saw through all of that, it was as if a little me was dying, because that's what the little child within me knew. And of course there were moments in my life, like very, very young, where I literally felt like I was a victim and there was no way out. And probably to accept that or to take on that role was just to go along with the reality in the moment. And that was probably like I don't want to say the right way to do it, but a sensible way to go about, you know, the situation in the past. But a lot of the times I don't realize, or my clients don't realize, and maybe some of you don't realize, that you've grown up and you've outgrown a situation where you thought that it was completely in someone else's control, and you just forget to take the power back. So once I saw that I do have the power, it's as if the little girl within me had this little death, and I just imagined kind of going to the funeral, the casket, and like just like saying goodbye, and it was kind of sad. There were a lot of tears, but very good to go through, because I feel much lighter now. I don't feel like I have this burden. It's weird because in a way, it's not a defense mechanism, but it's a way of reacting to things that kept me safe, to just deflect, right? That it's not my fault, or that it's not my thing, or like, oh, I'm powerless to it. It's to deflect it. It, in a way, made me feel safe, like I could get away with it, or that I was less important. So I mattered less, and what I did mattered less, and my whole power in the situation was less. But it didn't keep me safe, because I actually kept myself in a bunch of negative emotional cycles that didn't even feel good. Like, that didn't even mean anything other than me playing it, the storyline in my head, and believing it so much, and trying to make others believe it too. So I hope that makes sense.
Well, it does to me. And it really sounds like you had quite a significant and profound shift.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And it's so interesting because, again, you saw it, you know, you had an insight, you saw it for what it was, and that's what helped you to actually make the shift. Or that's when the shift happened, is when you actually saw it unfiltered, that, you know, you're stuck in that pattern in certain areas of your life. Right? Because that's always, people, you know, some people might be asking, well, how do you get out of it? Well, you get out of it by looking at it without filtering yourself, without, you know, sweet talking anything. Just look at how it is. And, you know, the term victimhood, or being a victim, has a negative connotation to a lot of people, and so they don't want to see themselves as that. But and when they don't want to see themselves as that, they're going to try and sugarcoat it or change it in some way, shape, or form, and they are not going to be looking at it as it is. Because it doesn't matter whether you have built a $1 billion company, or whether you're an employee, or whatever it is that you're doing, you might have areas in your life where you are in victimhood. And signs of victimhood always are blaming. Blaming is one of the big things that a victim plays, that it is powerless and
you're helpless. Yeah.
Powerless, helpless, and all of that.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It's someone else's, or it doesn't have to be someone else, but it could be just a situation that you're in that makes you that way.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, there's no, just because those things, they are symptoms of the pattern of being in victimhood. So it's not about changing the symptoms. It's not about stopping blaming other people or stop feeling powerless or all of that. It is about recognizing where you're at, because you have to look at the fundamental pattern, not at just the surface symptoms that come up because you're playing that game. You have to look at what it is doing to you, and you have to look at the pattern itself.
Mm-hmm. And this is not to say that I haven't heard, or I haven't even said to other people, because I do.
Yeah.
I've said to my clients before, hey, like, take the control back, or like, you know, I've heard these words before.
Mm-hmm.
You do have the power, or you are always in control.
Mm-hmm.
Or the whole victim game.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard these words so many times before,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean that I 100% saw how it applied to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when I hear that, it's not like I'm brain dead and I don't get it, nor do I see how it relates to me. Like, of course, I understand it, and I see how, okay, in certain examples it makes sense, so therefore it makes sense. But this is kind of for the first time in my life where I saw this storyline, like from beginning to end, and how it was almost always there. Like the moments of weakness, and I mean, I have great moments in my life where I am very powerful, and I'm not doing that kind of thing at all. But then there are certain moments or patterns in my life where it's repeatedly happening. And so that's when I realized, wow, it's really a running theme. It's a running theme. And it's not just like, oh, aha, right, that happened and this makes sense and then it's over. I seem to hear it or understand it in a much deeper way. And it didn't just change how I saw one event. It began to help me see how multiple events. Yeah? Me today, me when I was much younger, like that was the same thing. And to see that was a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. You really saw it, and that's what the difference is. It's not just hearing it, you actually saw it. And guys, you can hear something for 100 times and you hear it for the 101st time, and suddenly you hear it differently and see it differently. You see something else, and that changes the dynamic of it. It really is that simple, but you have to know what you're looking for. Sometimes it helps that someone can point out where you are, for example, stuck in this kind of victim pattern. And often those victim patterns are surfacing in all kinds of different shapes and forms in your life. They're often not just limited to one area. And so seeing the magnitude of it is very useful, because that's what really can help you to be like, okay, I'm done playing this game and I'm not going to do this again. By the way, me talking about this and knowing about it is because I have done it quite thoroughly myself as well. And nowadays there might be certain things that surface that I'm like, oh right, that is part of the victim thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, great, I haven't seen that, and I can put it at ease and I can let it go and step out of that in that situation as well. So, but there is, at least in my experience, there always has been kind of a significant shift where you see something, you get out of the pattern, and there's sometimes some leftovers that come here and there, and you're like, right, that belongs to that, and you're not playing that anymore, or I'm not playing that anymore because I quit the game. So that part can also go.
It's really strange how we keep calling it the game. Do you want to just explain that a little bit? Because people are like, what do you mean game?
Well,
I thought you were talking about your life. So you want to explain why we say game?
You as a person are a creator. And the way I see it is that being a victim or being anything in life is a game. You're playing the game, you're creating the game. And in the victim place, you have set up the game where everything is not going as you want, where you can blame circumstances and all of that. But you are the creator of it. It is a pattern. It is not who you are or what you are in your essence. No one is in their essence a victim. Everyone is in their essence a creator. And that's why I call it a game. And also just with the whole, I don't know why exactly, but it just makes a lot of sense to me that all the experiences we go through, they're just experiences. So for me, life is a game of emotions where you go and you experience all kinds of different emotions and you understand them and you learn from them and you can let them go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I call it a game for a slightly different reason.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because I was playing the victim game, I didn't know this consciously, so I really didn't see it, especially understand it with my head and see what was going on. But now I look at it, and it feels like I put in certain parameters or rules that I've set myself to play a game where if ever I don't like life or I don't like reality, I have a bunch of cards that I can use to deal with it, right? And some of it is just to go, yeah, I want it, and then I complain about it, right? I want something, but then I don't actually try to do anything about it. I just complain about it. Or I go, oh, I've done all that I can. Poor me, it still doesn't work. Like, life is unfair. Or there's another card of like, oh, clearly I've done whatever and it's someone else's fault. Like all these cards I was able to use. And the funniest card of them all is me doing something to myself. For example, it could be like, oh, I want to eat less because I want to lose weight. And then a part of me is like, oh, I'm suffering. I'm not allowed to eat chocolate cake. Well, guess who the person who set the rule that I shouldn't eat chocolate cake is? That's me.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm playing victim and the person, authority, making myself go through it. And then I'm suffering as if someone is doing to me and completely powerless to it. When I can say, just have a bite of cake if that's what I really want. Like, so I have all these rules in place in this funny game of mine where I get to go, oh, poor me. Even if it doesn't make any sense, even if I'm the one doing it to myself, I can still play that game because I said, oh, well, this is what I wrote for the rules. I'm allowed to, I can. And I also, like, play it so I actually feel better about myself. But does it really, like, make you feel any better to beat yourself up and then to complain about it, right? Like, this is ridiculous. But when you're in the game and you're like, oh, those are the rules, and you just go along with it, and you think as long as you follow the rules and, you know, you follow the game, then you're winning. Then things are working. You're moving along. But that doesn't mean in reality that you're moving along. It's just that you're deep in your game. You're consumed by it. You're very much engaged in the game. And that might not mean you're actually engaged in life.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the way I see it as well for myself, just on a bigger scale, in that you are an unlimited creator and you have taken on limitations, you have taken on all kinds of sort of things, and you have given away some of your powers, some of the way that you can step up, so you can play the game of insecurities, of victimhood, of self-destruction, of all kinds of things. But it is a game, and you created it, so you have the power to step out of it. And actually, here's the funny thing. You can look at the game You can realize that this is what you have created. And by just looking at your own creation, you remember that you are a creator.
And I just want to mention one more thing, which I find really interesting, and it makes complete sense why it's an actual game. And for example, what I went through, I had a lot of even logical ways to say, oh, the situation's not working for me. Or, oh, I've done all that I know, poor me. Or like, oh, it must be your fault because, and then poor me. There are lots of arguments and lots of evidence, let's call it evidence. And a lot of it is actually factual, like things aren't working. Or like, it didn't go well. Or, oh, I'm in pain, or I'm suffering, right? They're all true. And I had this little, like, it's not a real notebook, but it's as if I have this whole notebook of evidence that I have prepared and have taken note of so that I can prepare to use it to play the game and to just set my position. Now, having those facts or noticing those things, it's really not an issue. I mean, there's stuff in life that happens, you notice that's good, those are the numbers, or it didn't go as well. It's all fine if you take note of things like that. But it turns into the game the moment you use it to twist your reality, to prove to yourself that you need to stay a victim or you need to stay in a certain position. It's as if you're building your case to convince your own self that this is the real reality. And of course, if you look at what I've listed for you before, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, why do I even want to keep track of that stuff? It's awful. Like, why do I want to keep track of the fact that this is not going well, or I don't feel good about that, or I want to blame someone for that, right? Because there's a mistake or something that's gone wrong. Like, why do I want to keep track of that? I'd rather, now that I'm in a position to see clearly, just do what I want, and if I don't, or I'm not happy with something, just do something about it. But before, I was really taking note, taking evidence, taking in these logical facts and observations to prove a certain point and to keep myself in a certain place, almost like in this weird, reasonable, logical way, but it really wasn't. So that's why it's kind of sick when we do this emotional stuff to ourselves, and there's certain emotional patterns that we upkeep, and it is a game because we place ourselves into a scenario in our own heads, in a game within our own mind that we can't get out of until we actually look at the rules that we've created in our life.
And even interpersonal, if you have difficulty with someone, or you're in a certain relationship where you feel like the victim, it always takes two to tango. You are reacting in a way so that this dynamic can play out. And when you realize what you're doing, when you step out of it, suddenly most obvious kind of actions and reactions come to your mind, how you can actually just step out of it and change the whole dynamic of the relationship.
Yeah, so it's both internal, you can shift how you act, how you behave, how you engage with the world. Just like that, the moment you break free from that game, you don't need to break freedom from the game, you just need to see through it. And it just unlocks itself, you unlock yourself from that. And also, of course, it works beyond just you and yourself. It works with relationships, it works for really sticky situations that has always felt really emotional, and it really it just begins to detangle the mess that you believe you're in, that you feel like you're always in. That's the thing.
And it is very relevant for business, because if you're trying to build a business and you are in the victim game in that area as well, of course you're not going to be successful, because a victim can't be successful. And if you are successful, you can't enjoy the success, because a victim can't enjoy success. So you see, in order to really get what you want, you have to break or recognize the pattern first.
And that might be a very emotional process, like it was for me. So if you're going through something similar, or if you're thinking, okay, there is a certain game that I'm playing, I might not know exactly what it is, I do want to break free from it, then please just get in touch with us. You can head over to bizandflow.com. And over there, just hit the tab Contact, or you can also hit the tab Work with Us, and we'd be happy to hop onto a free call with you just to discover what might be going on for you, and how can we help you to step away from any patterns that just feel so old, so stale, not productive, not you, and to really begin a new life. I want to say new life, but like a new life where you can actually do what you want, you can feel how you want, and you don't need to be predetermined by how things used to be. So please, if you feel that way, or at least if you feel like you want to explore it, then we're here to help you, and we'd be more than happy to give you a free hour with us so that we can discover what could be to potentially here for you. We really believe in you, and that's why we believe that it's of our interests and of complete value that we offer this. We believe that it's possible for everyone to break free from this.
Yeah, I don't believe in it because I just know it. You're the creator. I wrote down, just like the yo-yo has to return to the hand, it spins back up. Just like that, you will return to recognizing yourself as a creator. That's just your nature. So for me, there's no belief involved for that.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's a belief because I feel it deeply. It's something I believe in. It's in me. I feel it, and for me, it also extends to the listeners and how I believe in them. I know it's in them. But anyways, a little bit of a, I don't know what you want to call it, a bit of a punchy, emotional 2 episodes.
Yeah, I really liked it. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, thanks. But I just want to say to the listeners, thank you for being with me. I know I went slightly off topic because it's really so emotional, where I was or where I've been sharing from. It might not feel like it has to do with business or how you can tap into your flow, but it really is, because from now on you can actually look at, okay, Natasha had that realization. Did it do anything for her? Like, has she changed? Well, now you can tell me, and you can observe me and see if that was really authentic, because I really felt something, and I'm as excited as you to see what that brings. So just follow along with me, stick up for those emotional moments with me, and I'm sure that will bring us all together somewhere, and let's figure that out together.
All right. Let's go to bed.
Okay, have a good night, everyone, and I'm glad I'm ending this episode with a smile on my face.
Me too.
So thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.
Bye.